And first of all, I will talk about question 1A, 1B, and question 2C today. And I want to ask you guys a question first. I think most capstone students, first time they read a past paper, some of the question, for example, this one, you will find it like completely unrelated to everything you learned from module 11 to module 14. The question here is like, it feels like it's not even related to our industry. It's not an accountant problem, not related to a CPA. And your examiner this time, I would say they go even a little bit further on this particular question. Because in this question, you are being set to be actually you are here. You can see you are the senior marketing manager. We actually change profession in this particular question. In the past, we are most of the time finance manager or something, but we are being asked a question not related to the finance or accounting department. But this time in this question, you completely change to another department. You are Dorothy Lai, which is marketing manager. And this question is like more marketing related question. And it feels like not related to our profession at all. But don't worry. Actually, when the question is structured like this in examination, it is actually even more easier than it should be. If you think about it, because you are not in this industry, you probably have no ideas what happened in this industry, especially if you are still like a fresh graduate student, not even start working yet. And in this examination, your examiner will give all the information you need within the question and your present case. For example, this question, it tells you are the marketing manager. So it gives you everything you need to know required in this question requirements about the marketing industry. All you need to know is when you look at the present case before the examination and when on the examination day, when you look at the question, you know where to find your answer. I can assure you, 90% of the answer is actually already written in the information. The problem is whether you can locate it and then plan it and then change it to something inside the question that can help you get the marks first. And second thing I wanted to tell you, in this examination, most of the question sounds like it is open-ended. For example, it's like ask you to recommend which entertainer you want to pick in this question. There's three people, A, B, or C. So you need to analyze and pick one of them. It looks like an open-end question, but I can assure you, no. Every single question in this examination, the answer is actually presetted. The answer is already inside the question. So all you need to know is find out that answer and then plan your answer and write everything according to the preset answer within the case context. Okay. So don't be creative in the examination. No creativity. Remember this very first thing you need to know. No creativity. Everything is within a rectangle, within a square inside this examination. Nothing go outside of the box. Don't think out of the box. Everything is inside the box. All right. The answer is already there. And I'm going to crack it with you. First of all, you see I highlighted the word assuming in red. So the first question, if you just read it, it just asks you to pick one of the entertainer for the marketing program. It asks you to compute, analyze, and propose with justification. So technically, you need to do financial and non-financial. Financial part is easy. I believe you guys should be able to handle the financial part with ease. If you can't handle that, you really need to work on that because the financial part should be the strongest part for us as an accountant now. So the calculation part is not difficult, but of course, one thing you need to know, previously, most of the calculation you need to do is probably module 11 and module 12. Most likely module 12 for financial management, you need to do some calculation. But for module 11, most of them are accounting treatment. There's not a lot of computation or calculation you need to know. But for example, in this kind of question, it's like more like a budgeting question. I have a budget. What is the targeted profit, and which one or which project or which particular entertainer here will give me the highest profit? The calculation is a little bit different from what you have learned before, because you have a specific requirements according to accounting standard or financial management, or you are calculating the NPV, you are calculating the IRR, whatever. There's a formula or rules that you need to follow. But inside this question is information being given to you and ask you to compute something with a financial perspective. So what do you have to calculate? There's actually no boundaries for you. But of course, as I said, you need to think within the box. So what's given to you, you just use the information to do calculation. It won't be that difficult. This is the first part. And the second part, you need to look for the answer. The computation itself actually have a targeted answer. For example, if the question structure like this, and this word assuming, in this examination, whenever you see the word assuming, it's most likely in part B or part C of the question. Seldom you will see this word assuming in part A of the question. Why? It's because part B is telling you the answer for part A. This one, it says assuming an unwise decision for entertainer B. It is telling you that for part A, your answer A or B or C, it will never be B. Your answer in part A can only be either A or C. With just looking at the question, you actually already know part of the answer, because part B says no. I'm 100% sure of that. If you read the past paper, most of this is like this. And then eventually, after we do this question, you will know that the answer goes toward A or C. Eventually, the answer goes to C, but there's more explanation I will tell you in a minute. But if this is happening, the answer already there. You need to notice this part. All right. So part B here, here you said there's some concern about using entertainer B, right? And part A here asks you to analyze which one is better. So obviously, there will be something bad about entertainer B for you to put in part A of the question, for you to put in first part of the question, say B is not good enough. Therefore, if you identify this, the things you are going to put in part A regarding entertainer B and in part B are about the concern of entertainer B, they are exactly the same. So the answer, the information you are going to find can be used in multiple parts of the question. This is another thing you need to know about this exam. One specific case fact is probably useful in both part of the answer. If they are basically asking about the similar and same things, you will get marks in both part of the question with using exactly the same facts and reason in your question. So you need to know that. Don't just use the case facts once. If you can use it more than once, just it's a matter of how you present it in English and put it in the correct part of each question for you to get the marks. Of course, we will take more deeper in that in a minute, but I want you to know the prerequisite of this of a question like this first. And the problem here is like you're reading this question. If you are first time in this exam, you're looking at this question, you will probably have no direction. What do you need to analyze in non-financial perspective? So what, okay, financial is calculation, computation, or calculating of the profit, the easiest. The expenses spent on the project, the cost of the project, and then the revenue of the project, and you will get the profit or loss of each project. So this question changed to three people, but it's still, you can treat it as project A, B, and C, which one we are going forward with it. But the non-financial perspectives here is like, you will never know what industry you're going to encounter in the next examination. Of course, you will know that around 5 days before the examination, but that's a little bit tight in time for you to do the research. So you need to know what type of non-financial things you need to think about. For example, this question is particularly related to free people, free influencer. So what non-financial perspective I need to look at? And as I told you, the answer is in this information. If it is not in the question, your examiner actually already gives you a direction in the precinct material. So when you prepare the precinct material and now you have the precinct material and the question, one analysis that you need to do is to find the connection between a case and the question. So when you receive your real precinct case, you know what you need to mark down or what are the hints in this question. For example, this part and talk about the influencer marketing strategies because we are not in this industry. Your examiner needs to tell you. And interestingly, this precinct case is really, really long. There's like 21 pages in this precinct case. It's a very long precinct case. There's if you look at the past precinct case, some of it is really short. This one is extremely long because it is stepping into completely another industry, not related to our profession. So it gives you everything you need to know in here, which is, if you ask me here, it's like way too much information for you to catch what will be asked in the examination. But you will need to find out what is being keep on repeated in the precinct material. In here, it's talking about talent acquisition, the acquisition of our right person to do the marketing job for us. In this 21 pages, it says like 10 to 15 times about talent acquisition. And it tells you a lot of things regarding what we needed. You see, it says we're focusing on the analysis of the right influencer that we need to select. So it gives you hints already. Targeted influence selection. What you need to do, you need to first consider the engagement rate. So I mark number 1 here. This is talking about the profit of the calculation. Second one is the audience demographics. And then third one is about the reputation on that particular influencer. Your answer structure already being given to you. So you should be focusing on answering question 1, using at least these 3 focuses. So when you look at your real precinct cases, if you find things wording like this, you need to focus on something, and then it is listing it out like this: something comma, something comma, something comma, and then something. Then you will find that there are a lot of information being listed like this, a lot of comma and several point. It is your examiner trying to tell you what perspective you need to look at in this exam. Perspective is very, very, very important in the examination. Almost each of your questions, you need to answer from different perspectives. And most of the time, the perspectives already given in the question paper or the precinct case. You just need to identify them so you don't like creating things in the examination or like whatever pop up in your head and then you put in the answer. Then you are going the wrong way, and probably the examiner will still read your answer, and if it is related, then you may score the marks, but that is a too high a risk. So if you already know what the examiner is looking for, what is actually in the model answer, then it is much easier for you to get the mark. And again, this is an extremely easy examination, Capstone now, compared to final exam in the past. First of all, the workshop, you probably already get like 10 to 13 marks from the workshop. So technically, you only need like 70 something to 80 marks. The full mark is 70 something or 80 marks. So technically, you only need to score 35 to 40 marks to pass the examination. You don't even need to get 50 marks in here. 30 something marks is enough to pass. Okay? Provided that you're doing good in your workshop, you are not just sitting there and do nothing in the workshop. So technically, it's not difficult. And then everything, as I say, is here. It tells you data-driven approach, what you need to do. This is the direction for your answering question. What I need to leverage the data. We need to talk about engagement rate, conversion rate, sentiment analysis, okay, regarding the person, the influencer, which is a data-driven approach. The question already gives you the approach, gives you the focus, what you need to focus, what is your approach in answering the question. And then moving on, there's some additional information. You see, you talk about social and legal guidelines. This is 2 completely different perspectives, which always appears in the examination, especially the legal perspectives. Legal perspectives, what I said, legal perspective, it covers all written laws and regulation and policy of whatever kind you can think of. All right. This question is talking about the mainland government, about their guidelines and policy on the ethics of the entertainer in the industry. This is a particular regulation in the mainland China. It can be anywhere in the world. Most of the time, it should be Hong Kong, and then next, it's most commonly is mainland China, the laws and regulation. But in the examination, you never know. It can be an international business. Then you look at the legals and laws and regulation perspective of something, and then something touching the ethics. If you're touching social ethics, it's mostly talking about reputation, either the reputation of a particular person, a stakeholder, or the reputation of the whole company. So if it hurts their reputation, the profit drops, expenses increase, not good for the company in long term. It all comes to that when it falls into the ethics and social. So if bad ethics, someone's with a bad ethical background, then it is not good for business. Your answer need to attack that. This is something you need to attack. It's a very strong reason or point to say no to something because that's an ethical issue. Obviously, if it is a legal issue, it's easier. It's against the law, it's not permitted under certain regulation or rules, then it is prohibited. Okay, but ethics, most of the time, it is like, it is legally okay. It is not against the law, but it's an ethical problem. If you do that, it hurts your reputation, although you are following the laws and regulations, but socially and ethically, it's not good to the company or the person in question, right? So if you think carefully, all the guidelines already be given to you in here, what you need to do. Of course, when you just look at the present, you will never know what actually the question is. But if you have assume you have studied the whole thing, thorough analysis of the present case, and in the examination room, you'll find out the question, and you should remember that something in the present case already given you direction of what to answer. Then next step is to how to plan your answer. So the question is already here. If you read both of it, if you read both part of the question, you know you are looking for something bad about entertainer B. Just reading the question, you are looking for bad things about entertainer B, so you can use it in this part to support your answer why you will pick A or C in this case. Make up your mind. Before you start writing, make up your mind who you are going to pick. Not really do the analysis and then in the answer look at it and then finally pick one. No. Before you start calculating an analysis, you should have your answer. So when you read the case facts, you need to design your answer immediately before you start the analysis. We are doing things the other way around because the analysis is help you to pick the correct one. For example, in this case, it's entertainer C. Your ultimate goal is to pick entertainer C. So if you can, you will attack B and attack A and find out everything good about C to support your answer. This is your ultimate goal before you start writing or start planning an answer. And it will help you in both cases. And remember one thing, if there's a note in a question, you need to pay very good attention to that. It's very specifically tells you what you need to do in this part. Please don't say anything about A or C here. Just say the bad things about B. Leave the good things about A and C in part A. And both part A and part B, you will be attacking entertainer B. Okay, make up your mind what you need to do. And then part C, Mike should have already covered this part, but this is also another not really jump out of the perspective. It's talking about legal and regulated perspective, but about another entertainer from overseas. So this is out of scope from here. There's another entertainer from Singapore or Malaysia that you need to think about, but the thinking approach is more or less the same. All right, but of course, this question is specifically locked to the legal and regulatory perspective. But in the part A and part B here, it's open-ended. The perspective is open-ended, but of course, we already locked ourselves in this spot. You are going to talk about the three to the five things that we marked just now in the preceding case. That what we are going to look at. So once you make up your mind, you know the present case. When you look at the real case facts, you need to know what you should do. Okay, so in this case, it gives you a lot of information. And remember, in this type of financial analysis, if you look at the past paper and this one, it's straightforward. You are just looking at the profit of this, which one is going to get a high profit. There's no uh, difficult financial related calculation in this. This is not a module 12 related question. This is more or less an accountant common sense budgeting question. Which project will give us a more realistic profit? So you need to analyze it in this way. So what is the closest thing you have done in the past that is similar to what you're doing now? Is actually the analytical procedure you've done in module 13. But of course, the analytical procedures you've done in M13 is for you to look for risk of material misstatement. Of course, here we are not looking for risk of material misstatement, but the analytical skills you already learned is basically the same. You are looking at whether there is strange things in between these three people or three projects here. Which one comes out with something strange? Then you mark it and then say this is good or bad. So this calculation is nothing difficult. The cost is being given to you, three different costs, and then you have the estimated percentage for the highest and lowest profit. The profit is already being given here to you. Okay, here the profit. The revenue, not the profit. The revenue is here. The revenue is here. That's a percentage. So you need to calculate a range. Remember, most of the time in this examination, the profit will be from a range. It's not a specific estimated profit. It's most of the time it's like maximum, minimum. In this case, that's a range, and which makes the things difficult is because this is a range. All right, and then financial, we already deal with that. Just calculation, you know what you need to do, and then you look for things that are being given to you. First of all, the audience demographic that we already marked from the recent case, you know, audience demographic is one of the things, and it says to be 25 to 45 years old here. Okay, so you know what is it. And then here is everything you need to look at. And there's one very interesting thing here. It gives you a 15% commission rate for Digimore. This is a little bit a trap. This 15% is talking about our revenue, right? We are Digimore. You need to know who you are in a question all the time. We are Digimore. I'm working for this company. So this is talking about us as the agency, our profit or the commission rate for us. But this analysis here is talking about the revenue and profit of our client. Q&M Beauty Group is our client. This is talking about their profit. So your analysis, you are doing it for them. So this is unrelated. Don't put this 15% inside the question. You need to know who you are in the exam. So what is relevant in this particular question? This question is not talking about the Digimore. You are talking about helping your client to do something. Okay, so it went way far away from our profession. Okay, we went into a marketing agency, and now we are helping our client to do financial analysis, financial and non-financial analysis. All right, so you need to don't fall into this trap. And then here all the information about the entertainer. Okay, which is good or not. And another hint here for you. Please look at this carefully. Us understand that our client wish to engage a different entertainer. Is that simply because of the entertainer's gender? And only entertainer B is a male in this question. So it's implicitly telling you that your client prefer entertainer B. But it gives you again another hint is specifically being written here. Entertainer B is not favored by Digimore. Second evidence in the question to tells you not to pick entertainer B. All right, just now in the question, assuming it's not good, and then here explicitly tells you not entertainer B. So your answer direction is locked here. please don't pick entertainer B. It just doesn't make sense in this question anymore. But of course, you need to understand whether you read the case fact correctly, whether you're understanding that this sentence is telling you not to pick entertainer B. All right. So move on. Here, much more information. You see, I put 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 is what I marked down just now in the preceding case here. This is 4. 4 is ethics. 5 is law and regulation. 1, 2, 3 is and this is the engagement rate, which is the calculation, the demographics, which age group, the reputation of the entertainer, and obviously within this text here, there's as much more things talking about entertainer B. It gives you a lot of bullet to attack entertainer B. So keep attacking. You see, for B, number 3 for B is a cross. This is cross. This is cross. Okay. Only one thing good for entertainer B is that it is related to the same demographic groups. Okay. But A is not. You see, 2 is demographic of the entertainer. So this is 2 is no. This is no and no. Okay. And again here, if you find it, B is not good. Here is additional information about whether they can engage longer with us. So C is the best one. A is like half here. B is no. So it's just that easy. Just count the tick and cross. You will see B is like no, 3 times. Okay. Only one good thing. A is no. This is 2.5. All right. But for C, you have one good thing and 2 good things. And no bad things are being mentioned in this question regarding entertainer C. Completely nothing bad about entertainer C. Just take the text here. There's 2 text, but no cross for C. Of course, we need to look at the calculation as well as in this question. So when you move on in planning your answer, so you need to follow the requirement first. So first part, obviously, the financial information. And the interesting part is here, there's the maximum and minimum. So as I said, always a range in examination. If there's not given a range, just a specific, it is much easier for you. But if you see maximum and minimum, you see this engagement rate, you have to calculate the range. And when you look at the range, it's interesting. So this is the highest. So first, second, third. But if you look at this is first, second, and third. All right. So if you look at it, if you particularly look at the range, this one is a huge range, less, and this is the smallest differences between the ranges. So if you just purely look at this, it's somehow hard to do the analysis. So what is your judgment? Which one is good by looking at this? Should I look at the maximum profit, or should I have look at the lowest profit here? So which one should I look at? Or I'm talking about the rate. But first of all, that's why I tells you already need to have an answer first. So first one, you need to mark this. We are not going to pick B. We are not going to pick B. So what is the reason you can use financially for you to not pick B? Obviously, you are going to talk about this. This is the lowest profit possible in this scenario. So your answer, if you want to attack why not B, you will just say the minimum profit estimation for B is the lowest. So B is not recommended. You need to know what you are picking before you write the answer. That's why. So because if you look at this, it is not that bad, right? And the estimated successful rate here for the highest profit, actually entertainer B is the highest. Okay, so if you're not sure about your answer, you don't know, you're not going to pick entertainer B. If you just purely look at this financially, if you focus on talking about this, you can say good things about entertainer B. But our focus is not this, so you should be focusing on this. Then it comes to this. So which one is better? This is first, this is second. This is first, this is second. So which one should I pick? Therefore, why I want you to make up your mind before moving on. Actually, if you think about it, entertainer A and C, if you look at it financially, there's not a definite decision you can make. So you can go either A or B is more or less similar. But of course, if my target is going to pick entertainer C, I should be focusing on writing this, right? Because the highest possibility is this higher. And even if it is the worst, if it goes to the minimum profit, then this is not so bad as compared to entertainer B. So you use entertainer B to push up entertainer C because you want to pick her. Okay, we want to pick her. So in this case, you know what is the focus of your answer. You are not actually doing analysis in the exam. This is an exam, all right? In real life, probably you actually need to analyze, but in this is the exam. We have a model answer. So what you need to focus. So eventually, if you look at the answer, this is how you study. When you read the answer, you need to understand why your examiner is presenting the answer this way. And then you need to learn how to write the exact same answer in the examination. So in this case, it is obvious that entertainer B is less preferred. You see how strong the word they use. Actually, if you look at here, it is not that obvious entertainer B is least preferred. Okay, you actually cannot directly say that if you just look at the financial analysis. It's because we already said to eliminate entertainer B, so your answer looks like this. Entertainer B is no good, least preferred. So, but entertainer A or anything is preferred, you see, it depends on whether you look at minimum or maximum revenue estimation. See, the answer is structured like, so A and C is so depends on which angle you are looking at it. So you or if you can make it easier, you will say entertainer B is less preferred. But if we focusing on the maximum revenue, we will pick entertainer C. If we focusing on the minimum revenue, pay it safer, then entertainer A is more preferred. You can leave it an open-ended, and then it goes into this. I love this word in the examination. The word however. However, it's a very interesting word used in the whole examination. If you see that, it means something you need to pay attention to. So you can learn this. So entertainment A and C financially is open-ended, but I already eliminate entertainment B. But then this part, we are looking to look at other factors before we make a conclusion. So you see first, second, and third. Firstly, we talk about the demographic of the three people. So entertainment C is okay. A and B not okay. But interestingly, if you go to the question, you see, Jacky, you put a tick here for entertainer B. You put a tick because it is famous among all female customer. So demographically is good. But something being written here is the reputation symptom of this one is not favored by many male customers, right? We are not in the industry. If you simply just ask me to do analysis, I will put tick, obviously, right? Female customer, all age, good. So, because I'm selling skincare product, whether male customer love this person, it's not our concern, right? I don't care about the male customer because I'm selling to the ladies. My market is to females, right? People who use the skincare product. So why male customer like him or not is relevant to us. And as I said, because you already set foot in attacking entertainer B, that's why your answer go to not talk about that females love entertainer B. You see, it didn't say anything about female loving entertainer B. It said the male do not like entertainer B, and there's a possibility that they will not buy the product for their spouses. See, this is how you structure your answer with the case that you turn it around because your aim is to say no to entertainer B. That's why I tell you, you already make up your mind before you move into the answer. So it goes like this. Good for C, not good for B and A. And then move on. Okay, this is what being written in the preceding case that the ethicals and the behavior is not good. It is probably an offense. When you talk about laws and regulation, you say it is an offense against the laws and regulation. Because in China, this is not just like guidelines or directives, it's kind of count as a regulation that you need to follow. You talk about it from both ethical, social, and laws and regulation perspective. Sometimes mix it together. You can say very strong word here. If we pick this, the client and us may be committing an offense. So very strong legal perspective, easy. If it is not okay, this is not okay. Just directly say this is an offense. If it is okay, nothing to say. It's according to law. Move on. You talk about other perspective, ethics, other things under that perspective. For law and regulation, okay, okay, not okay, then not okay. All right. So obviously the whole paragraph here is saying B is not okay. And then move on talking about the other data about whether we can engage with the influence longer. You will say that C is the most flexible. A is still better, but entertainer B cannot commit. So no B, A or C. And ultimately with this all, you answer the question. This question you need to answer. It is entertainer C that you are picking. See? I'm not asking you to learn how to be a marketing manager. You don't. I'm just asking you to look for the answer within the context of the question. This is like a comprehension test. In the English, they always say this is an English test. This is not really an accounting test. All right? The calculation is nothing complicated. Revenue minus cost times the percentage. That's it. If you don't know how to do, I actually can't help you. This is, you already came across module 11, 12, 13, 14, and if you say the financial, the analysis, you are incapable of doing it, then it's really your problem on the knowledge and the skills you need to touch in. But then all this answer, the main answer here is about analytical skills. What you learn in the CECs, what you are going to practice during your workshop as the analytical skills of the question and how to structure it into a solution that gives you marks. And then once you do part A, part B is extremely easy. This is the format. This is an email. The question asks you to reply to the chief executive officer, and there's a mistake in this answer. There is a mistake here. The chief executive officer, the name is Alex Chen, so you should put Alex Chen here, and you make a mistake here because it put Alex Chen here. It is wrong. Okay, you are writing to the chief executive officer, so you should be writing it as Sarah Chow, the chief marketing officer, or Dorothy Lai, the senior marketing manager. I think they make a typo here. You should meant to say Sarah Chow or Dorothy Lai, but it accidentally put Alex Chen here. It's not correct because you're addressing it to Alex Chen. First thing, make sure you get this correct. You see your examiner can make a mistake so stupid in the answer here. So you don't make such a mistake in examination, please. This is like probably 2, 3, 4 marks for the formatting and the analytical or communication skills mark in the question. So you need to get that marks. As I said, you only at least 30 something mark. There's probably 3 to 4 marks for just having the correct format and the correct person. Okay. And here, I'm not going into details with you because we already talked about everything about the bad things about the entertainer. Not good and not good about it. It's exactly talking about the same thing. It's just in different sentences, exactly the same problem from question part A. And this part, there's a huge thing that's saying what could happen for chasing this wrong person. Of course, this is talking about the possible return is not so good, but it talks about other things in here as a conclusion. This is what could happen if we pick entertainer B. And actually, if you go back to the question, it already tells you in here what bad things could happen if you pick a wrong entertainer. Again, we are not in the marketing industry. We are not supposed to know what bad things should happen if we pick a wrong person. So it is being here. So you need to use it, or you can use this in your answer to support why it is not okay, what bad things would happen if we pick entertainer B. The answer is already there. Everything is already there. So your practice is to find out what you need to use and then when you practice past paper question, you need to learn how to structure your answer in a correct way. You see, it use a numbering format. I'm talking about the here is like uh the customers, the targeted customer from the perspective of your customer, or here is talking about the demographic of the influencer. So this is one perspective. And then if the question gives you something about law and regulation, so legal perspective, this is again goes back to the financial related consideration. So non-financial factor plus financial factor give you this results. Okay, what could happen? What could that? Because the questions is very specific. Okay, you need to read the question very carefully. It's saying this is an unwise decision, and you need to convince the CEO this is a bad decision. So question B is purely what I call an attacking question. You attack the problem directly with whatever bullets you can find in the question. This one, if there is an analysis, you need to pick your answer, whether you need to attack or defense. You are defending for entertainer C by attacking entertainer A and entertainer B. Of course, bring out only write good things about C. Don't write bad things about C if you already pick C. Okay, so again, pick it and then plan your answer. I hope you understand what I'm saying, right? So let's move on to second part of this question to see. Okay. So I suppose I'm the last lecturer, right? So I suppose you already look at other part of the question. And I'm telling you, I didn't go into details of the question that is responsible for other uh lecturer. That's what I'm saying now. But anyway, of course I did look, but I can tell you this. By looking at this, part C, you see assuming again. Assuming shareholders agree to accept GSM offers, okay, I'm sure the answer of part A and part B, the conclusion you are going to make is to pick GSM. By just looking at the answer of the question here, which one to pick is GSM. That is it. And if you go look at the present case, there is actually hints in the present. There's always hints in the present case which one you are going to pick. Whenever there's like two options, which one you should invest, which one you should pick in the present case is always given there. And you need to focus on this part of the present case. Something talk about the future. In the present case, you will talk about some challenges problem. You need to focus on that because you are going to solve the problem during examination. New world ahead, something new going to happen. When you read the present case, it tells you something is going to happen in the near future, which means in 5 days, you need to make a decision. And it didn't mention anyone. It just mentioned GSM Group here in the present case. It didn't mention the other competitors. This is another indicator telling you that you're going to pick GSM. Okay. If you look at some past paper give you both parties inside the present case. But if you read the text carefully, you can see your examiner is always favoring one of the options. And if you read this present case and then you go to the question, add together with this, you know the answer is GSM Group. So, and part C here, and this is very interesting. This is a whole question, which is one single email. See, you are going to prepare a reply to an email which cover part A, B, and C. This is within the same email, and the third part here, assuming you pick GSM over. So obviously, the whole email is going on the direction of GSM offer. Otherwise, this is a strange question. Why would you suddenly talk about something in part A and B and then suddenly turn to another one? You pick the first choices in part A and B and then you go assume you pick the third one in the part C. It just doesn't make sense. So again, the answer is already set in the question. Okay, no need to think too much. Your planning is towards this GSM offer. And a very common examination topic in this question is talking about the employees. Employees is one of our very important stakeholders. So if the question about stakeholders and you see the word like staff and employees is focusing on that. And there are something you already learned in module 13 regarding hiring someone. That is how to hire the correct directors. In the chapters of corporate governance, we talk about directors. And in my notes, you will see I talk about ARM, which is attract, retain, and motivate. But of course, in module 13, we are talking about the board of directors, how to engage appropriate directors in the board, which is good to the company. But it applies to employees, it is exactly the same. And if you go back to the preceding case here, the preceding case keep talking about talent acquisition a lot of time. And you see the word is attracting and retaining talented individuals here. See, it already gives you hints. So in this case, and don't worry, if the question preceding case didn't give you information of that, I can assure you, you are going to focusing on ARM when we talk about employee all the time. Just remember this in your head. Whenever you see employee, we talk about that, we are focusing on this. And in this case, there are something happening in the company. So the question asks you for concern. Always something bad happens, something, or it doesn't have to be something bad. Some kind of changes happen in this case. So in this case, we are changing the board of directors, we are selling the company. It's either selling the company or either buying the company, or it is like a redundancy plan happen in the examination. We are going to fire several staff, we are going to shut down some branches of our offices, and the employees is like so afraid that they may got fired or whatsoever. It's always a scenario is like this. So in this case, something changes. There may be plopped up, but we are standing on a high ground of ethics and transparency, that sort of things. We are socially responsible in this case, always. So when you talk to employee, of course, in this question, they divided the employee into two groups, management and other staff. So you can separately talk about what you need to do with management and what you need to do with other staff. Your examiner always separate employee into two groups. Previous question, there's a previous past paper, there's a question talk about tea house. There's like two groups of employees, they're like don't like each other and ask you whether you want them to be competitive or be harmony with each other. So two group of employees, how are you going to communicate with them and deal with them separate? Here is exactly the same question. Okay, what you need to do is maintain transparency. How to maintain transparency with the employee? Only one way you can do it is to maintain timely and open communication. You want to talk to the staff face to face. Always talk to your staff face to face. Don't just say send out an email or something. Or even if you want to send out something, you need to meet with them first, talk with them, ask them if they have questions, what are their questions, what are their concerns. You welcome their question, and then you explain to them. If it is necessary, I will further the details in writing, in letters, in email, further communicate with them. All right, this is your steps, what you need to do in this examination when you are communicate to the employees. And then you need to talk about all the changes. Changes is the concerns. Okay? Employee don't have concern if nothing's changed. If everything's staying the same, everyone go back to work, everyone is doing the same thing as they do yesterday, and they are getting paid, they are not being paid cut of something, so nothing's changed, there is no concern. Pay cut is a change. Pay increase is a change. So there's change in salary and duties and whatsoever. Then you need to communicate with them and tell them the solution. Your solution is always to like stay calm, everyone. we are going to do whatever it takes to support our employees. We are very good employers. We want to support you. Please tell us your problem. We will solve all your problem in this case. So therefore, you know what you need to do now. I'm telling you, if you see employees and you need to see them and explain to them concern, this is what you need to do. I'm actually talking about every single examination. Do the same thing about this. The only thing difference is that what are the changes and the concern? What are the case facts in each question? This is different. You look for them and one by one target it and attack it and gives a solution. So in this case, we are not going to look at PEC because we are not going to pick PEC. And in past year of question, you say we take GSM. So we are only going to look at GSM. This is how you limited yourself on the relevant case facts in this exam. That's why I keep saying you need to know the answer first. So GSM, one by one here is all the changes. Go by it one by one. The first one, now we are going to be a subsidiary of another company. Tell me, look at this. When you see this, someone acquiring 100% of another company, what's in your head? From module 11 to module 14, what's in your head? There is control. Therefore, this is a subsidiary, right? Module 11, purely module 11 thinking. So subsidiary is a change. We are a private company, now become part of a good company. That's the change. You need to identify the change. That's why I keep telling you what you need to know what to find first. You are looking for changes and concerns. So find out these sentences, what changes and concern brings out to you. This is the difficult part of this exam. Because when you read the sentences, how you relate it back to the question, how you turn a sentence, the information into the bullets you can use in your answer, that's the difficult part. If you cannot catch it, you will say, okay, what I need to answer. So you will start randomly write down things in your answer. No, don't do that. You have to bring things out from the case facts. And then the second, that is like, okay, no intention to change management structure, but there's a new CEO and then a new people in the board. Something you learn in corporate governance, right? There's a huge changes in the board of directors. Is it a good thing to me? Is this a balance of composition? Is everything good? So if you are the one of the management personnel, because this question is asking about management and employee, right? Imagine yourself as one of the management personnel in the company, not that high, not to the C level, but you generally a senior manager in the company. What is your concern of the BOD changes? Okay, will it affect me? Will it affect my promotion opportunities in the future? What is my career path now? Because you imagine that you are in a management position, you want to go up. This is an assumption you should do. Assume everything is good and want to go up. Okay. Of course, some people don't, but that's not a problem in this examination. And then if you look at that, okay, you find other things. Concern to the employees and everyone. Employment contract needs to be renegotiated. Presume no material changes. Who knows, right? If you are the employer, I'm telling you, you need to sign new contract, but don't worry, not much changes or probably no changes. Okay, just sign it. Okay, if your supervisor tell you something like that, what do you feel? What are your concerns? Okay, will my salary be cut? Will my title be downgraded or whatsoever? Is it going to align? And then next one is tells you change of system and policy. So everything is gonna be changed. So your life is completely different. You go to work today, everything, the system, the policy, all the rules, you need to learn from scratch again. And you are under a new contract, new title. So what are your concerns is here? So in this case, you already got all the bullets of the concerns you need to do. So the question specifically asking you to identify concern and what are the measures you're going to do. The important thing here are the concerns. The measures is not difficult because it's always communication, seriously. So when you go to the answer here, okay, let's move on to part
啊，
C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊， C of the answer. 啊 Okay. So you see, if move the word here, how to retain and maintain their confidence in the company. So how to retain and motivate them to work harder. You already learned that ARM. But this question is not talking about hiring new employee. So we're focusing on R and M. All right. If the question changes to hiring new employee, then you need to talk about how to attract them to our company. What makes them love our company, reputation or whatever. So this question is focusing on retaining staff. We can say focusing on R first because everyone changed. I'm afraid people will be gone and I cannot retain the talented person already in my company, right? So if okay, intends to negotiate the problem, changing the control board of director, now changing the group of a subsidiary of a large group. Other cultural differences. Cultural differences is also being mentioned in the preceding case and in the question itself. If you go into more details, I don't have time to go into all details review. That's why you need to go back and do the same thing after you listen today. And then the problem is all being listed out here, and then is how you're going to answer. It's very easy. See, what you're going to do is careful planning and detailed communication. Okay, so people will not be ignored. They are worried they may be ignored because we're talking about the development and promotion opportunity. And you will have to have a proper arrangement of communication as soon as possible. This is timely and transparent communication. You see, every single sentences in this paragraphs are focusing on these things, how to communicate and be transparent. That's it. Okay, so we need to keep confidentiality first, and then when signed, communicate as soon as possible. If you are strong enough, you can add these things inside. They're being written here. If you think you are not that strong enough, I always ask you guys to be direct and simple with the answer. So you can skip everything about what confidential or whatsoever. Okay, interview, etc. So you need to put it, and you see for general staff, face-to-face briefing section help to explain the situation and deal with their concerns. Okay. If you think about what is being written here, there is no actual solution to the problem. It's just communicating. So think about HR department. That's what HR department did. They tells you things that seems like something, but actually they means nothing. It's the same in the whole world for HR departments to talk about this sort of things. But the answer is looking like this because if you actually go study HR management, the result is something like that. Ask you to ensure that proper communication with the employees, so whatever. And then here, subsidiaries, here it goes to talk about the resources, conflict of interest, and changes, cultural differences. And if you think about it, this question is only 7 marks. This question only 7 marks. I assume you cannot catch this here. You don't know about cultural differences. You don't talk about the subsidiary. You fail to catch that. But I already asked you to remember for staff, management, or employee, you need to focusing on transparent and opportunities. By just talking about this, you probably already got like 3 marks, probably 4 marks if you do the introduction and if you do the closing. You see the above analysis and just blah, 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 can answer a question. Please contact us if you need further information, something like that. If you do the closing properly, this probably 1 mark. The introduction do properly and probably one and a half mark or something together with the closing 1 mark. Here you at least get already like 3 marks, 2, 3 marks. So for the whole question, you have already got like 3 to 4 marks. In a 7 marks question, you already got 3 to 4 marks. That is way more than enough. All right. As I said, you only need for 30 something marks to pass the examination. So each part of each question, you get 3 to 4 marks. There's like 9 to 10 different parts in the whole examination, right? 3 questions. Each of them have like 3 to 4 parts, right? So if each question you get 3, you already get at least 3 marks. You already get like 20 something, close to 30 marks. But of course, you will score more marks in some question, right? So it's not easy to pass examination as long as you know what you're doing. All right. So it's about time. Do you have question? Anything? I know my topics is like more open-ended or whatever, but please ask question.
So the format and the introduction and the conclusion, the sentence will get marks.
Yes. You can sometimes it's written in the question that there's analytical marks and communication marks. Around you assume 2 to 3 marks in each question. Okay, because each question is one format, and you need to look at this in the question here, this paragraph. Look at this. In the past, the question will tell you directly, or please write a memo to someone, please write a report to someone. Okay, but now it being put in here. You need to pick the appropriate presentation and appropriate presentation format. So it will not explicitly tell you what you are going to give in the question. So it didn't say directly what you are writing, but it gives you the background. Is that you are the someone. So you are going to write something to the chief executive officer. So you can pick the appropriate format. It can be a report, it can be a memo, it can be an email. So question 2 is more specific. It tells you this is he prepared a reply to his email inquiry. So this is an email. You need to pick the appropriate format. It didn't say directly, say, oh, please write an email to Alex. In the past, like 2 nights ago, you will say, please write an email to Alex, and then you will have the format. But now it is embedded in the question. As an accountant, your examiner assume you know the appropriate method to respond to your boss or a client. So there are marks for this, right? Okay, so good luck. Yeah.